What I do want to do is decide, if you make a mistake and get yourself hooked on cocaine, why should I put bars on my windows to protect myself from you? You know, you're going to be married to your decision, and I think that people should accept that. I go on beyond that and say that it makes as much sense to me to put that gifted actor Robert Downey Jr. in jail for his cocaine problem, and he's always going to be a recovering cocaine addict, as it would have Betty Ford in jail for her alcohol problem. It's the same thing. It's a medical issue. But if Betty Ford, Robert Downey Jr., you or I drive a motor vehicle impaired by, I don't care which drug you want to fill in the blank, that's a crime. What's the difference? And that's pretty straightforward. Now, by your actions, you're putting our safety at risk. That's a legitimate criminal justice issue. People buy that. They understand that. We need to get back to the criminal justice system doing what it's equipped to do, namely holding people accountable for their actions. Yes?
One of the arguments that is put forward against legalization is that it has been tried in other countries and with bad results. Would you like to comment on that?
Yes. The question is, some people say it's been tried in other countries with bad results. It's going on right now in Portugal. And Cato Institute has come out, I haven't seen it yet, but within about the last couple of weeks, a study showing the results in Portugal. And I've heard from the Drug Policy Alliance that it's really positive, that they're really making headway. It's the experiment, or their program is working quite well. They have legalized all drugs in Portugal, as I understand it, and it's worked quite well. Otherwise, there's no other country, particularly that I've ever heard of, that has done that. Netherlands has a program of decriminalization. There's a difference. Legalization, basically think aspirin. You know, the free market sets the price. There's no age restrictions. There's no restrictions on advertising. I mean, aspirin is a legalized drug. I don't want cocaine to be in that realm. I would prefer it to be treated like alcohol, which is the strictly regulated control, and then there's some restrictions, etc. So Holland has the program of decriminalization, which means it's still illegal today to buy, use, possess, sell any of these drugs in Holland. But as long as they stay within very well-known general guidelines, usually with regard to quantity, the police are instructed in writing to look the other way and leave them alone. Now, conceptually, as a judge, I have problems with that because I believe in having reasonable laws, and then I believe in enforcing those laws. If you're not going to enforce it, then for heaven's sake, just do away with the law. But putting that conceptual problem aside, what they're doing in Holland is much more successful than what we're doing here. There was also, of course, China, and they had the Opium Wars and the rest, and Mao Zedong was very effective in dealing with those people. He would simply kill the users and the sellers, and that drove that out of business. What good does that do us? But those are the only other countries I'm aware of that have experimented in this fashion. Have I exhausted the questions?
You know,
I will.
Well, let me because we have a few more minutes. I want to segue a little bit. We have a surprise guest came in here. Chris Agrella is running as a Libertarian in District 32. And what's the main big city there? Yep. He's got his tin cup out, and he's a perfect example. There's a special election coming up. Is it May 19th? Yes, and this is a great opportunity. The judge brought two of his books. He said he would put them up for auction just to offset the room cost. But I would like to donate whatever the judge could get for the two books to Chris's campaign. And by the way, I forgot to do a pitch. There is some member applications back there for the Libertarian Party of California, and your $25 a year membership again goes to help offset some of the filing costs and advertising for whatever the party can give in advertising, which is very little. So, but you have a chance in this particular special election. There's a little weakness, and I'd like to give Chris a few minutes just talk about that election and what's going on in the. But right when the judge can wind up. Did you want to say anything else before we make that?
Yes.
Okay.
first of all, want to wish you well. It's good for you, and Godspeed. Well, no, not Godspeed. We don't talk about that in elections, but I wish you well. Finally, I'll just share with you a story that I frequently tell. It's been test marketed at the end of my talks on drug policy. And that is that there was a man on his deathbed, the very end of his life. He called his wife to his side and said, "Well, dear, I know I'm not long for this earth, but before I leave, I just have to get something off my chest. That for numbers of years now, I've been having an affair with such and such a woman that lives across the street, and I don't mean to hurt your feelings, but I think you had a right to hear about this and hear it from me." She looked at him. She thought for a moment. Then she said, "That's okay. I know. That's why I poisoned you." Well, in such a lot of ways, we are poisoning ourselves because of our chosen drug policy. We can go through and discuss how we got here or anything else, but one way or the other, we can only get better from here. In fact, I truly believe that we couldn't do this worse if we tried. We're taking it on the chin in every way imaginable. We've lost more of our civil liberties because of the war on drugs than anything in our history. We're taking it on the chin from a medical standpoint. We lead the world in putting people in prison. It just goes on and on. So we can only get better from here. Let's recognize this, recognize that we have options, and start employing those options. And just because we do all of that does not mean we condone people abusing drugs. But if they're going to, they're adults, they're going to have to listen to whatever information they get, process it, and then be held accountable for their actions. That works. That's what libertarians are all about. Doesn't mean poor baby, and the rest. It means you're going to be held accountable for your actions. That works. It's the best way, and I'm proud to be a libertarian, and I'm proud to share the evening with you. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you, Judge.